Hi, this is Brian Darcy James, and I have the great honor of sitting with Ittai Shapira, who is here to talk about his new piece called The Old Man and the Sea, based on the Hemingway story. And I just thought we would talk a little bit about how it came to be, how people can hear it, and maybe just a little bit about how you wrote it and what inspired it.
Basically, I was on tour in Florida, and the hub was Key West, and I was really struck by the colors and the sort of mix of the sort of Caribbean and U.S. feel. You know, Cuba being right there, all that kind of made a real impression on me. Mm-hmm. But I didn't think I was going to do anything about it necessarily.
So you didn't set out to write a piece about the old man?
No, I was performing another piece when I was there, so
okay.
I was kind of busy with that. Now when I came back to New York, I basically heard sort of this melody in my mind. I'll just play it real quick. It was and it sort of kept coming back and kept coming back, and I thought there might be something there, and then later on, I had sort of this melody pop up. And right around that time, this was kind of brewing. The BP oil spill happened, and I didn't think I was the right person to write anything about necessarily. Of course, I was following the news very closely. I haven't been fishing even once in my life, but I've befriended a family there that had to move away. So that really kind of struck me.
The story became personalized.
Yeah, and then Key West, Hemingway, all these elements. I read the book and I was really struck by it. And what I learned from the book is that there's a lot of similarity between being an artist and being a fisherman. And I'm kind of curious from your perspective on this. One thing that really struck me is the fisherman's sort of. He was very, very respected in his community. He had a very long fishing career. And when he first set out to sea, he couldn't catch anything. Then he had the sort of the biggest catch of his life. And you've done so many things. You have this sort of amazing career. I'm wondering if you can sort of relate to the.
Well, I think the tenacity of being a solo entity going out into the abyss to kind of make your living or make your statement. And your livelihood depending on that is, I can relate to the idea of an artist just trying to be true to themselves and what they want to say, and oftentimes feeling like they're swimming in the middle of the sea as they do it. But it also reminds me of the idea of an overnight sensation taking 20 years to happen. A lot of times you don't necessarily hear about the career that occurred before. A lot of people get to see or hear what it is that the particular person has done. So it is a vocation to spend your life to do what you love.
Right, it's sort of real passion and so much more than a profession.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, in a way. And when you it took the fisherman in the story 84 days to sort of make his catch. How long does it take you to prepare for a big role?
Well, typically you get about 4 weeks to rehearse a Broadway musical, and about the fifth week you start going into the tech process, so you're assimilating the lights and the actual physical production, and also the music, which is a huge aspect to it, obviously. So you kind of work towards that final time of being in front of the public. But for the first 4 weeks, you're rehearsing with everybody in a barren room with tape on the floor, and so it's very bare bones, and ideally it's very creative and collaborative, and a chance to really see what doesn't work,
right,
in order to find out what does. Do you find that to be true in your writing process?
Yes, but it's done, I think, very, very differently. I mean, if I have melodies that I think are sort of really, if I basically can't help but write them, I write them. Mm-hmm. And then I listen to a lot of different types of music. I mean, in this case, Shakira, Rihanna, some of the old classical masters, Debussy,
Now that's a sentence I wouldn't necessarily hear all that often. Rihanna and Debussy being in the same sentence as inspiration for a classical composer such as yourself. Do you think that's common?
It might be a little extreme, but I think it's more common these days than one would think.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of classical composers, writing today are actually trained percussionists, guitar players. They've played in orchestras and in bands. So I think there's less of a separation in that way.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, part of how this particular piece came to be is a new theater at Miller College